afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are in the world, and thank you for joining us for this webinar with Amit Dewan, How to Study for the Salesforce Exam and Crack It on the First Try. Well, we'll see how close we get to that, but certainly there are tips and tricks to studying, training for, and cracking the Salesforce exam, and our friend Amit is the person to tell you about it. Salesforce's popularity is soaring across all industries, and there is an urgent need for professionals with specialized training to get maximum value out of Salesforce tools, and that's why the number of professionals who want to get certified as developers and admins in Salesforce is surging. But training for the exam and taking it successfully can be a real challenge, so today Amit is here to share some best tips and tricks for prepping for the certification exam, as well as insights into the value of Salesforce training for your career. If you're not familiar with Amit, he has more than 17 years of experience as an IT program and project manager and 9 years as a trainer. He's an expert facilitator and corporate behavioral trainer and a sales and service cloud consultant as well. Very qualified gentleman. We're happy to have him here to guide us through this. But before we get started, I just want to make sure everybody is hearing me okay, and I want to familiarize you with your dashboard really quickly. So take a look at your GoToWebinar dashboard, and you'll find a little tool there called Questions that lets you type in things for us to see. Go ahead and type hello in there if you would. Just say hello to Amit and let him know that you're happy that he's here and you're looking forward to hearing what he's got to say. Fantastic. Mark, thank you. I'm happy to see you here with us today. And Siddhant is here. A few other folks saying hello in the system. That's great. That tells me you can hear me, so that's a good thing. That means I'm not just speaking into the darkness. Sometimes GoToWebinar takes us by surprise. It tells me I'm talking when I'm not really talking. So thank you for joining us. Keep an eye on that questions module. That is your best friend as we're going through the presentation. So if you have questions about what you're hearing and you'd like Amit to go back and cover some previous points or to expand on something more specifically to your situation, go ahead and type it into the question module, and what we'll do is at the end of the presentation, which should run about 30 minutes or so, then we will loop back around and we'll do a proper Q&A where we'll go through your questions and try to cover as many as we possibly can. If you hear something really brilliant that you want to share with your friends to make them all jealous that you're here and they're not, you can do that. You can live tweet, you can post on your Facebook feed, you can go to LinkedIn and paste, share whatever it is that you're hearing. You can use the hashtag SLWebinars if you'd like. Let folks know where you are and that, all the awesome things that you're learning, and they'll be jealous and maybe they'll join us here with you next time. That's probably all you want to hear from me. You came here to learn from a real expert, so I'm going to turn this over to my friend Amit and let him guide you through the mysteries of Salesforce. Thank you so much, Amit, for being here.
Very good morning, good evening. Guys, can you all hear me out?
Yes, absolutely. It's all yours, my friend.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you. I do read out the names, and most of the names sound as if I've already trained you guys, and I'm not sure whether that's true or not. But anyways, most of the names sound quite familiar to me. Well, welcome on board once again, guys. My name is Amit Dhawan, and I have a small brief intro to be done. I hope you guys are able to see my screen come through. Is my audio and video all clear to you? Can you please type yes in the chat window to confirm it to me? Either the chat window, yeah, the chat window with the right place. I think you're typing it in the questions pane. All right, that's fine. Thanks, Chip. Okay, thank you guys, thank you very much. I would just like to, quickly go about gauging on, before I could get started off with my, small intro, I would like to gauge on exactly, what is the type of audience that I'm dealing in with here. So if you guys are not having a microphone or you have some audio issues, probably you can let me know. I'll just try to unmute you one at a time. I'll start off from the top and go bottom. I'm going to move Siddhant. Siddhant, I'm unmuting you. Siddhant, can you hear me out? Hello? Siddhant, can you hear me out? Okay, that's fine, Siddhant. I think there's a lot of noise which is coming in from your side. You can speak up directly in your laptop or probably on computer if you want to talk.
Hello.
Yeah, Siddhant, I can hear you.
Yeah, hello.
Some decent music playing at the background. I mean, you can still go ahead
Yeah,
with your introduction.
it's today Janmashtami. The function is going on. Hello, hello.
All right. So I'm going to go and mute you, Siddhant. That's okay. Siddhant, you can, in the meanwhile, go about typing in your brief intro. Let me move on quickly on to the next participant, which is Yuvraj. Yuvraj, can you hear me out?
Yeah, I can hear you. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, Yuvraj, I can hear you loud and clear. How are you doing today, mate?
I'm doing good. How are you?
All right. So can you just quickly go about briefing about what you've been doing so far? Have you been already trained? Has been training? Have been training? What is it?
Yeah, I've been trained. Like I'm currently using Salesforce. I'm working as a process lead for a customer care in Thomson Reuters. So I deal with Salesforce daily. It's my daily bread and butter. So I know Salesforce, but I just wanted to do a certification in Salesforce, be an admin, just upgrade my skills. So that is the reason I chose to sign up for this webinar.
Uh-huh. Okay. Cool. That's very good. Good to know. Thank you. Well, welcome on board once again, Yuvraj.
Welcome.
So I'm going to go ahead with Brian. Hey, Brian, could you hear me out? Brian, could you hear me out?
Yes,
Yeah. Hi, Brian. How's it going?
it's going pretty good. How about you?
Oh, great. Thanks for asking. Brian, quickly, brief about yourself. What have you been doing so far?
Basically what I did is I took the Simplilearn 3-week course on admin and dev, and right now I'm working for a company as a project manager, and part of the newly started with them, and part of the arrangement is that I get some hands-on with the development portion of it. So I'm doing some projects, getting the swing of it, learning how to listen in on the qualification call. So when a customer says we have this need, the challenge for me right now is I know how to do that, but I don't know what that relates to. Is it a work rule, whatever it might be, to translate that into the functionality? Well, that'll just take time.
Okay. That's really good to know. Brian, so who was your trainer?
Excuse me?
Who was the trainer?
His last name, Ryan Scarf.
Oh, okay. All right. Great, great. Good to hear on that. Thank you, Brian. Thanks for joining us.
Yep.
All right. Let's move on to Mark. Hey, Mark. I think I know this name. Mark, could you hear me out? Sorry. I think I don't get any response. Mark, I would reckon, I think you have some audio issue or you do not have the mic. Mark, can you hear me out? All right. I'm going to move on from Mark. Mark, you can probably, pen down your brief intro. Last but not the least, we've got Dalant. Hey, Dalant, can you hear me out?
Yeah, mate.
Hey, Dalant, how's it going?
Very good. How are you?
I'm doing good, sir. Thank you. Go ahead. Brief me about yourself.
I work as a .NET developer looking for career change.
A little louder, please. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm working as a .NET developer and we're looking for a career change in Salesforce.
Ah, all right. Okay, fantastic. So, you've been working in the industry since how long?
About 10 years.
Fantastic. Welcome on board, Dalant. Good to hear from you. All right. So I know Mohammed Kazim is one of the, the guys who would start off the sessions. He was working with Simplilearn. Guys, I'm so sorry about the bad throat. I mean, it's come up with the with the bad weather here. Kindly apologize. So, guys, I'm gonna quickly, brief you all about myself. This is me. I've been in the industry for almost like 17 plus years now, and almost like 9 plus years working as a trainer, and also 9.5 plus into the Salesforce. I've seen Salesforce grow from zilch to nothing, from nothing to almost becoming everything. So I've seen it grow through the roughs and troughs all throughout, where it was almost like a decade back. It's only been a decade once it started making a presence be felt. Salesforce, they are not the pioneers in the world on the CRM domain. They definitely have been struck by the new technologies that have been making a lot of waves in the market, where they started, doing venturing, or they started venturing into the world of CRM. Now, to kickstart off, they did, were the, starters in the world of CRM domain, where they took cloud computing very seriously, and started providing services in the context to SaaS, PaaS, and IaaS. So what do we mean by SaaS, PaaS, and IaaS? Let me just quickly go about doing a small brief intro about what this is all about, and then probably come back to my concluding of the intro part, and then start off the sessions. So Salesforce, well, I have been associated with Salesforce for quite some time, as I said, and it's been where I've acquired a lot of certifications from them. And prior to this, I've been into .NET, I've been into Microsoft technologies, done a lot of enterprise level development work. To talk about in the capacity of a job role, what I do generally is, I'm working as a technical architect or slash a solution architect. And I generally, I'm a developer by nature and tend to, guide people around, train people around, guide people around, or, provide my expertise, whatever I could as an SME, with the best of the knowledge that I could bring across the table. So guys, what I would suggest, you since you've already given me your brief introduction, and I have most of it already identified, I would kickstart off with a small foundation we laid on, as I was talking about the three major tenets that we generally talk in the realms of having to be discovered on the cloud, where we would have them be identified as SaaS, PaaS, and IaaS. Now, Salesforce CRM is not just the CRM. I mean, they started off their venture into the CRM domain vertical with the SFA as a Salesforce automated apps. But today you look at them, they have a complete platform framework, the architectural approach that has been leveraged into the realms of having a platform come through as an offering that you can think of building up any kind of a solution or any custom built solution to go about extending, and that is where it opens up the very platform to allow for the integration to come through with any disparate third-party systems seamlessly. So this is a total win-win situation for many of you. Wherever you have been working in your legacy systems, with your legacy systems and your legacy technologies, your outdated technologies, people come to me with SQL background, with rational background, they come to me with much outdated technologies, where it's given them a lot of ray of hope to take up Salesforce and build it up as a primary skill set. Now, this is where I would guide you into the direction as to how it can really benefit you. Salesforce CRM, when competing with the likes of the major giants such as Microsoft CRM, Dynamics, SAP, you talk about SQL products, Oracle products, whatnot. Salesforce has taken leaps and bounds. It's just not the virtue of just saying it, but it's actually, if you are into the habit of reading through the things on the internet, go and check out the Gartner report or probably the Forrester report. Gartner has placed Salesforce CRM into the first Magic Quadrant for the last 3 consecutive years when it comes to meeting of the customer ecstasy. So that's definitely big time leap bounds change over a change in a paradigm shift over in the change thought process, what has led to the largest user adoptability rate across the globe with the lowest TCO, total cost of ownership. What generally used to take almost like a running number of months would only take running number of, or probably couple of weeks to have the deployment or the development build across the deployments within the org or across the different orgs be carried out. And there are different, there's also flexibility on account of having to do it. And you can batch it up, you can time it, or you could write scripts to automate the complete process end to end. Now, this is where Salesforce CRM has led to a lot of demand in the market for Salesforce professionals. There's a lot of resource scarcity, believe me. Whether you talk about the US market, Europe, which is EMEA, or the APAC, I've seen it all, and I've been training. I've almost trained like an army of Salesforce resources till now, and I've seen it all. The growth hasn't stopped yet. Why? Salesforce, they're like a thinking company. They're wearing the thinking hat, and they are in the very event of having to roll out 3 major releases. They do 3 major releases in a year. Where do they get the meat from? Well, they have a site called ideas.salesforce.com, and they encourage people like you and me to go and testify the feature sets, what they have as an offering for the different suite of products, what they come through under the hood Salesforce, where people like you and me would go and evaluate their products and will propose as a best industry practice what would come through or what needs to come through on the very product line. And this is what is taken as a vote against on the ideas.salesforce.com, where the idea which gets a maximum number of votes definitely gets taken care of seriously by the product management team, and you would definitely get to see that come through in the next release. So I mean, it's a product which has not developed, it's not been developed by Salesforce. It's a product which has been developed by people like you and me for the likelihood of having to meet up the ends what you and me would be facing up on the real time or the ground floor level 0. So this is what is one of the biggest differentiators which has really stood by and has made them have their presence be felt in the market. So to take you through what I would have, well, I'm not going to deep dive into the very hardcore technical competencies. You would definitely have that flexibility to go through while you sit through the training modules. And there are different training modules that you can take up from Simplilearn. They're the pioneers in the industry to bring up the very use case driven with the practical hands-on live project implementations that would take you through the entire course, where of having the implementations go through for out-of-the-box functionality or be it any net integrated custom development solutions, what has to come through under the sales or be it the services. Now, the very trick, or rather it is, let me put it this way, just sitting through the training would not really suffice. You really have to, have a benchmark. And these benchmarks are identified by the certifications that you could definitely go about gauging on against yourself, or rather, acquiring these certifications while you sit through them. So how do you make sure that you're going to pass through these certifications? First important thing, the first most, make sure that you truly understand what you're getting in for. Are you going to be planning to get into the shoes of an administrator, into the declarative side of the implementations, or are you somebody who's going to be getting into the shoes of a developer through the programmatic side of the implementations, or somebody who's a techno-functional kind of a profile who's wearing both the hats together? Now this is very important. Why? Because you would then be knowing the fact as to what is the right training module that you would like to get started with. Well, there are modules which are rated from basic to intermediate to advanced. You can surely go about picking on them, and accordingly, you can sit through the very certifications which are aligned according to them. Simplilearn will definitely bring in a lot of expertise around that area and will help you to cherry pick on these courses as you go along. Sorry guys. So it's something similar to the lines where what you have as a trailhead from Salesforce. They provide you the trailhead to go on a certain topic from basic to intermediate and then to advanced. So it's in a manner which is similar, pretty much similar in fashion to it. But when you think on the lines of Googling around the different sources or going and sitting through the trailheads, it's an ocean of information out there. You don't know what is the starting point or what is the mid path, or how you're gonna make yourself sail through it. This is where the SMEs from Simplilearn would come into play, and they would bring out the best of the breed available in the market as trainers, and they will help you train on the track which will walk you through sequentially. Having acquired the training is just the tip of the iceberg, believe me. It's the start of your relationship with Salesforce CRM as a product that you, or as a technology that you would, as a product that you would be using in your real-time scenarios or in the real-time projects, or as a technology that you would be coding in for and whatnot, you will be doing everything and everything. Now this is where you need to make sure that the training modules that you acquire go step by step, where they are aligned to certain certifications which you should plan to take up over a period of time. Now certifications, they add start your uniform. If you think on the lines of just going into the market or launching yourself into the market with Salesforce training undergone, probably that will not really help. You have to, plan your resume rollout. You have to, build your resumes on the lines where, you have your projects incorporated on the Salesforce, gauge yourself with a good understanding, and also have the certifications be acquired. Now, how do you go about making sure that, you go and acquire the certification? Well, I'll tell you, there are a lot of tips and tricks. There is no hard and fast rule to anybody who's writing the exam should take one approach versus not the other one. Well, there could be any permutation, combination of approaches that could be taken up. It would all boil down to the maximum number of hours that you can go about spending out, and in whatever approach you take should be the best. Well, what does it mean? It simply means that you should be a regular attendee to the very developer or the success community, which has a lot of technical threads, technical material, white paper stuff, whatnot, that would really help you gauge or probably get hold of the new things or the new incumbents which are making a lot of wave in the industry. Not only that, many people generally go about sharing out the solution to the very recurring problems that would come through as a design pattern that would be very, very instrumental to you while you go about understanding it and how you could go about incorporating it at your end to resolve a problem that would have been in state for quite some time. And that would be a differentiator for you. Having said that, this would also lead you to prepare the grounds for your certification, because in the exam you do not know that the 60 multiple choice questions that you're going to get, there are different sets that are revolving. Which is the set that you're going to get through, or probably whether the questions in the set are going to be the same the next time you go and appear, or they're going to get changed. So it is always a good practice to gauge your understanding from the practical point of view, having to hear out the storyboards or the user stories which are put in through by many of the participants or the attendees or consultants like you and me who have taken Salesforce as their primary niche skill set. This will give you the wearing hat, and this will really give you the thinking hat, and you can start thinking on the lines. And once you get geared up for it, once you get into the groove of thinking aloud on account of different practical implementations, believe me, there will be a time that would come where you would be a contributor rather than just sitting there and hearing out people. So you will start contributing to the threads. One important aspect is that any practical use case that you come through or a question that you come through for the online papers or any Google material that you have, you must make sure that you practically implement and see the result. There could always be a possibility that there would be many a times answers which are very close in proximity to marking the resultant answer. So don't get confused. The best way to resolve would be, first, rule of elimination. Second, you would need to Google around it to make sure that you have a good technical know-how available on it, what would have matched up with your understanding. Third, practically go about implementing it. The more you do it, the better off you would be at the end of it. Last but not the least, having taken up the training, having identified the trainer, instructor, the best of the breed, and identifying what module you need to sit through, make sure that you are well supported by the back office team where you have to drive the show to conclude the very project implementations which are rolled out to you. Not only in the class with the solutions which are being talked about, but also go about making yourself an active participant in the Simplilearn's online discussion forum, which is Simply Talk. That's another, a discussion forum that will really bring in a lot of value added while you go about attending it, or probably being a contributor there. Believe me, I have come through many such questions that I get asked, and as an SME I have to go about answering them, and so before I could go about answering them, I have to sometimes go and drill down into the very nitty-gritty of how the things are actually moving inside the architecture, and make sure that the answer that I give is up to the mark and definitely would help the participant have a good understanding and give me a 5-star rating. That's definitely out there. So I mean, it's more about practicing the things rather than just taking up the theoretical knowledge. It's the functional understanding which has to marry the technical core implementations, what would make a difference for you in a real sense, in a long term. Even when you get down to the wire of having to acquire a certain get yourself absorbed in a certain job, you would be tempted to do a lot of implementations at your end, and you should do that. Why? Because that's going to add like an artillery to your it's really going to give you a lot of advantage and weightage to you while you go about talking to somebody as a client who would talk to you in a wavelength which would be well grasped by you, and you can definitely complement them by talking them in a similar manner where you could propose them what you would know of as an implementation that could come through seamlessly under the realms of Salesforce. And these are what is available as out of the box. If there's something which is available as out of the box, you could definitely go about looking at some other point of solution that could be well knitted or integrated within the realms of Salesforce. That's really going to help you gauge more understanding and level you out with your certification skills, your talking skills, your communication while you talk to somebody, and persuade the end clients. So all in all, this is the very gist of the things that I wanted to talk about. Well, I would definitely encourage you guys to raise questions, and whatever you may have, I would like to take this up more collaboratively rather than just keep talking it out myself. I mean, I'm nobody to give you the gyan. You already have it, and believe me or not, I mean, I am here to learn, and that's what the attitude has to be with each one of you. So I would encourage, Chair, can you hear me out?
Yes, sir, I sure can.
Okay, fantastic. So Chip, I would definitely want you to let people speak up or speak out their questions, and I would like to take up the real stuff rather than just keep talking about the theoretical stuff. So let me face the music.
I understand. Yes, I do invite people to go ahead and type into the question module there if you've got specific questions about training and into Salesforce and with regard to choosing a path and making a career change. We'd love to be able to do sort of an Ask Me Anything, if you would, where you can get some guidance to your specific situation. And if you've got a microphone and you want us to open up your microphone so you can talk directly, of course, indicate that in your question, and we can open your microphone up as well. As you heard earlier, though, sometimes that's a challenge. In the meantime, while we're doing that, I see Siddhant who did not have a microphone, has let us know that Siddhant is pursuing third-year BTech and is enrolled in big data and Hadoop development, is interested in cloud, so a wide variety of technical interests from Siddhant, and interested in adding some expertise in Salesforce to the mix. I imagine, Amit, that there are organizations that are moving from other systems to Salesforce. They might be using SAP or some of the other large platforms. And I imagine that as Salesforce becomes more and more predominant, we see a lot of migration in organizations. Is there an opportunity there for Salesforce professionals to really help companies with that migration, to specialize in the challenges that come with switching CRM platforms? And if so, do you have any idea which platforms people are moving from? Is it helpful for a Salesforce professional to have experience also in some of the other platforms?
Absolutely. You'll be surprised that I did 3 or 4 batches, I don't recall what is the count, from McAfee, and I had the very opportunity to work with some of the very senior Siebel consultants with the company, where they were getting trained. Why? Because there were a couple of projects that were lined up with them that reckon migration of data that needed to happen from their very respective systems, what they've been using in the past, into the realms of Salesforce. So things have started moving out. and moving into the Salesforce. So not only this, I have had, people working on technologies like mainframes, they are porting themselves into Salesforce. So there's a lot of space, being created. Okay, now when I say the space is getting created, what does it really mean? There could be a possibility that you could either have a complete migration of one system, legacy system, be done into the very new incumbents on the Salesforce, or you could even think about having your legacy system still be followed, where you would allow for some kind of integration to go seamlessly for the bidirectional flow of data from one system to the other. For example, there was one of the projects that I did where until the connectors were built directly to allow Salesforce to connect to the SAP, we had to incorporate a middle tier, which was via the Informatica on cloud. And having the Salesforce speak to Informatica and then Informatica talk to the SAP would really gave us a lot of background check on, would give us a lot of grounds to understand what are the different other technologies other than Salesforce that could be leveraged, where they could come as an offering as SaaS or could even be a PaaS. You talk about, Java application which is hosted on a Heroku environment, which allows a seamless integration for the flow of data, both bidirectional, come from an endpoint, which could either be a SAP implemented or probably could be a SQL Server at the end of it. All right, would that help?
Absolutely. Yes. Sorry about that. I had a little bit of an audio dropout on my end, and I was thanking you, and it was not going anywhere. This is one of the things I love about GoToWebinar. Yeah, it's really, I think that we're seeing that opportunity is just huge for this migration as Salesforce becomes more and more prevalent. I understand Google has also integrated AdWords conversion into Salesforce, I know, within the past year. Is that becoming more critical for people? Is that becoming a large part of the necessary knowledge and skill set inside of Salesforce to understand AdWords and PPC in the context of behavior tracking and conversion tracking and so forth within the Salesforce environment? Would people be well advised to have some understanding of AdWords and maybe even be certified there?
Fantastic. Very good question. You asked me a question and I'm going to give you more than what you asked for. Now hear me out. It's not just the Google AdWords integration into Salesforce. You talk about any of the email or marketing strategies or the designs, what you could think of as a third-party implementations or applications that would have been there. I'm pretty sure, I mean, if you guys know about Marketo, Web Marketo, or probably, Pardot, there have been a complete suite of different email and marketing management systems that allow for a seamless integration that are already built out as applications by many of the ISVs and published on the very app exchange. That's one. Well, okay, I'm going to cut this short. All right, that was the answer. I mean, I hope that would have helped.
Yes, absolutely. I think that there are so many parallel providers of various kinds of services that integrate well with Salesforce, and I think that, pardon me, it's true that one does not need to be expert in all of those other parallel services and tool sets necessarily, but at least understand them well enough to know which questions to ask and what research to do to be able to integrate them well with the Salesforce installation. Yeah, you sound like, I appreciate you stepping in today and hosting with us, but you sound like you're really suffering from your throat. Should we consider cutting our session short today, or are you okay to keep going?
No, I think I can keep going. That's fine.
Right.
I'm having a glass of water now, so
very good. Well, you
cutting this out. So I appreciate your cooperation. Thank you very much, all of you.
No, you keep us posted how you're feeling. So as one is choosing their path through Salesforce training and deciding what direction their career is going to take within that, can you talk a little more about the difference between being a Salesforce admin versus a developer?
Absolutely. So, you could live with Salesforce being an administrator or being in the declarative side of the implementation for not more than 3 to 4 years, after which you would need or you would feel the urge to move into the development side. Why? Because unless you've seen the things actually how they move behind the scenes or the implementations that go through declarative. And at times you would be urged to, even have the programmatic interfaces be built up. Why? Because there are certain limitations. As the equation tells me, in Salesforce, 85% of the times you will be able to implement the certain declaratively all through click-throughs. But 15% is the integration side or the development what would come through in the form of writing Apex. And this is where, if you can wear the hat of having to go through both the admin and the development side, you can be somebody in the shoes of becoming a technical architect, or if not, a techno-functional role that would play the role of a solution architect.
Very good. Thank you for that. I am also curious about what other kinds of training would be most complementary to Salesforce to help make one a more rounded provider of service. If it would be something like, project management certification, Agile and ITIL training, or any particular coding languages, other concurrent or complementary kinds of training or certifications that someone might pursue besides a Salesforce specific certification?
Well, the answer to the question would be, somewhat related to the first question that you asked. You talk about any technology, anything that comes on the Web 2.0, whether it be integrating a JavaScript or now as a new incumbent into the market, which are the jQuery frameworks like, the Bootstrap, the AngularJS, the Node, Backbone, whatnot, which has actually led Salesforce to, take up the very Lightning design system to come into play, is all orchestrated around the same thing. So, you need to know all these technologies where it would go hand in hand together to give you the best of the solutions that could be incorporated. Because in today's world, while since you will be building up a solution on the cloud, is all gonna be in a disconnected environment. You need to make a lot of asynchronous calls or the call outs that would need to go through via the APIs. This is where having a good understanding of all these technologies would really come as a plus.
Yeah, obviously the broader the skill set, the more employable and valuable you are to any organization. So absolutely broadening your ability there. Salesforce is not a cheap install. This is a platform that really is priced for large organizations and enterprise customers. So I imagine most of the opportunities are within the enterprise space. I imagine there are no opportunities really in SMB. So is this a career path that makes itself appropriate to work as a private contractor, or are most of the opportunities going to be on in-house teams with large organizations and enterprise customers?
I've seen it both. To be honest, I've seen it both. Why? Because, it may vary. It may totally vary. When you're working for a product-based company, generally you would be wanted to work as an FT. Where, contractual works would generally come out in space where you're an SME and you really want to, add value, bring in add value to the team of developers who would have nothing as a knowledge on the play. So both the arrangements work equally good.
Very good. Yeah, I know that there are plenty of folks that, particularly probably in that migration space, there might be more room for independent contractors to help folks that are moving from one platform to another. You mentioned that the certification test, once you've gone through your Simplilearn training and you've trained against the current book of knowledge with Salesforce, and you're prepared to go take your Salesforce certification test. You mentioned that it's a multiple choice test, and of course they rotate the set of questions, so they're never the same set of questions. At the end of the test, I imagine you come out with a score. Does your score play into your competitiveness in the job market? Do employers see that? Do they ask about it? Is it like, we have the SATs, right, for preparing for higher education, and people will ask you, what was your SAT score? Do people ask about what your score was on a Salesforce? Does it make you more or less competitive?
Really. No, not really. I mean, nobody would ask you that score, and you don't get the score. You either get as a pass or a fail. That's it.
Ah, so you don't even really know whether you're in the 10th percentile or the 30th percentile.
True. You don't get to know that. That's true.
And then you recertify. How often do you need to recertify with Salesforce, or is it a lifetime?
Very good. Very good question. So, as I said, Salesforce, they're generally in the practice of having 3 major releases done in a year. With every release that they do, you have to, if you've already taken up certification with them, you have to sit through the maintenance exams. And these maintenance exams will come through against the new release notes that would be rolled out to you. They're not pretty difficult. They're very simple. I mean, you just got to, make yourself well acquainted with the release notes which come up every now and then, twice in a year. So, it comes as a big time. I mean, I would not call it as a big time pain for me, but it's a big time learning for me. I mean, I've taken almost like 6 certifications, 6 into 3, 18 maintenance exams is what I have to sit through in a year.
Wow, that's a that's a lot of training, but that ensures that people who do have a current certification are really up to date on the very latest changes to the system and requirements that are going to be relevant to their employer.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
now, given that, what do we know about the advantage that the certification? Obviously, you mentioned earlier there's certification and there's hands-on practical knowledge, right? There's really doing the work. So if I'm in the job market and I'm looking for an opportunity with an organization and I'm up against people who have a lot of hands-on training but no certification, or I'm that person, I'm up against people who have certifications and I don't have a cert, but I have a lot of experience working in Salesforce because I just learned it organically in my last job. What are employers looking for? Are they obviously in a perfect world they're looking probably for a balance of those two things, but what distinct advantage does having sat for and passed the certification exam give us in the marketplace?
Very good question. So remember, I said that having to get certified would be like something like adding a star to your uniform. So when employers are looking for recruitments, they generally look out for candidates who are certified. Why? Because they would be able to build the team pyramid of certified Salesforce professionals and would be able to, portray the same to their respective clients. And that gives them a lot of weightage, which is the reason why they're looking out for certified professionals. And having to certify is definitely a must. Sorry.
Yeah, so having that certification is going to be the thing that really indicates your dedication to the skill set, your dedication to keeping your professional skills up to date. So I would imagine that if I had my choice as an employer, I would look for somebody who had some skills and some experience as well as having a certification. If you're just starting out, now when folks take the course from Simplilearn, they're going to get the opportunity to do some hands-on practice projects, right? So they can if they don't have any other kind of professional real-life portfolio, they've got those projects that they can point at with an employer and say, I was able to do this. But do you recommend that people also early in their career maybe look for opportunities to volunteer their services, to build a portfolio of projects, maybe working with local nonprofits or startups as a consultant to just sort of get their hands in the tool? And
True. So see, when you're at the start of a career and you know that you don't have anything as a a real-time project done in Salesforce, so anything and everything that comes your way you should pick up. So I mean, I have done it, and believe me, success to anyone's career path would lie in the variety of different projects that you would go about doing up. And that would really open up the platform understanding and also give you a platform where a launch pad where you can start gauging more experience and go about talking it about, go about flaunting about.
tell the world.
Yeah.
Delanth is asking specifically with regard to the Simplilearn training. What are the projects like that you get to work on inside the training?
So you would have two admin declarative side implementations related project and two development, the programmatic side implementation projects, and then there will be a holistic overview of the projects clubbed together, an end-to-end implementation that will come through for all the learnings that you would have acquired.
Oh, that's very thorough. Yeah, so you get something on both sides, both the admin and the development side.
It's totally
That's
balanced
great.
out. That's
That's
totally balanced.
fantastic. You mentioned the value of Simplilearn's SimpliTalk forum as a place for people to ask questions and get to know other learners and other professionals. Are there any other specific industry events or conferences or any special blogs you like to follow that help keep people up to date if they're working within the industry?
To be honest, you can definitely Google out anything and everything, but the only three places that I generally go out is the developer community, the success community, and SimpliTalk, which is Simplilearn's technical forum, where there's a lot of technical discussion. Many of the SMEs go about talking about things or probably proposing solutions, which really come in pretty handy. I have a great learning out there.
And when you mention the first things you meant, those are on the Salesforce community, right? Those.
Absolutely. That's on the Salesforce side. What I'm talking about is a developer community and a success community. And this is something which is accessible to anybody and everybody. Once you get your developer org instances, which is the virtualized workspace environment we created, you will have a quick, handy access to it. So, everybody has access to it.
Fantastic. I'm going to take over the screen here for just a second. I usually do this before we even start the Q&A, but we were so excited to get into the conversation that I didn't do it. But I'm taking over the screen for just a second here. For those of you who are still on with us, if you'd like to talk with someone at Simplilearn about taking a course and getting some training in Salesforce, learning more about what it's like, if you'd like to maybe see what the back end of the learning platform looks and feels like, if you'd like to get a little guidance on which, because there are several Salesforce certification trainings available, to get a little guidance as to which one might be appropriate for you and for your goals and your business and your career, we're happy to have somebody talk with you. There's no obligation, but it never hurts to talk directly with somebody and get a little guidance to make the right choice. So if you're interested, you can tick the appropriate box there. And as Amit mentioned, a lot of the folks who are on here with us are already Simplilearn members, and you're already familiar with the trainings we have available, so you don't worry about it. You don't have to tick the box. But if you're new to us and you'd like to learn more, please do. I'm only going to leave this up for a second because I don't like to do a whole lot of selling on these webinars. We want to keep it to actionable learning. But on the count of 3, I'm going to get rid of this. So if you're interested, this is your chance to have someone get a hold of you. And 2 and 1, thank you so much for indulging me. My little contractual obligation there to represent the company while we're doing this. I'm also going to share some links into the chat module. So everybody who's on here with us, if you would take a look at the chat module, I am going to share some links here. Make sure this goes to the whole audience. There we go. So these are some links to some places on the Simplilearn site that you might find helpful. One of them, of course, is a listing of Salesforce-related courses that are available. The other resources link also gives you access to some white papers and articles and ebooks and things like that, as well as more upcoming webinars that are Salesforce-related, so you can take a look at that. And the last link is drops you into our Career Edge section of our site, where all of the resources across all specialties are available for you to dig around and find some white papers and some articles and some resources on whatever it is you're interested in learning, Salesforce and beyond. Siddhant had mentioned interested in the cloud, is studying big data and Hadoop right now. So Siddhant, if you want more articles and things that are related to your areas of interest, you'll find those there as well. We are against the end of our hour here, and I invite anybody who has any last questions to go ahead and drop them into the question module. Otherwise, Amit, I just want to say thank you for stepping in and picking up where our other SME had to step away today, and you did a fine job of taking over and sharing all your information with, especially with a sore throat.
Yeah.
That's very much appreciated.
Thank you,
And,
guys. Thanks everyone, and making a more interactive session, and I really like that. And in case you have more questions, yes, Chip, please do forward them to me. I would love to answer them.
Absolutely. I've reached the end of the questions that I had listed. So as I say, I think that we've answered everybody's questions that is in attendance.
Yep.
So we get to drop out 7 minutes early today. But thank you again, Amit. Hope we'll work together again soon. It was
absolutely. Look forward to it. Thank you very much.
And thank you to everybody for joining us, taking time out of your day or your evening. If it's the middle of the night where you are, then extra special thank yous for your commitment to showing up. And beyond that, we will see you next time, and have a terrific rest of your day. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Have a good one. Cheers. Bye-bye.